Welcome to another episode of the Career Keynotes podcast with Tincup and Gardiner, where William and Andrew chop it up with respected Silicon Valley talent acquisition and HR leaders to get the real story behind their career journeys, along with an insider's view of how companies engage with candidates. Let's face it, these days, finding the job, much less nailing down an interview, is not easy. This is a rare opportunity to learn firsthand what companies are looking for in a candidate and the best ways to engage with them. And now, here are William and Andrew.
Boy, well, first of all, welcome back, everybody. It's so good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you for a week. And just want to thank everybody for liking and subscribing, especially my mom and my kids. And so, no, seriously, listen, I am really excited about today's guest because I've been chasing after her for, gosh, I don't know, about 25 years. No, seriously. So listen, as you know, the purpose of the show is to interview and kind of query HR, TA, thought leaders. And today's guest is one of those people. I've known LeeAnne for not long enough, and we'll get into that with the show. But without further ado, hi, producer Bev and William, they're here. But without further ado, I would like to welcome you, LeeAnne Giblin, to the show.
Thank you. I'm super happy to be here. And, can't wait for the bannering and the dialogue.
Right on. Well, luckily we had a couple of hours to chat before we hit record. So hopefully we'll still have a few things to talk about. No, okay. So listen, enough fooling around. LeeAnne, the first thing, as you know, I like to talk in effusivity. And so rather than me tell everybody how much I like you and how smart you are, why don't you take just 2 or 3 hours, kidding, that's the last timing joke, a couple of minutes, and just give us some insight and context into who LeeAnne Giblin is.
All right. Well, I appreciate the introduction, and you're throwing me with making me chuckle. So long and short, there's like the short story and the long story, right? So which one do you start with? So the short story is I work in human resources, overseeing the human resource function really for what would be in the finance industry, and have been doing that now for over 20 years. Did start off in telecom. So this is now, I guess, migrating more towards the long story, right? I intended to be a high school English teacher, and no joke. And while I was working on my teaching credential, I got a job in what's now Comcast. So at the time it was United Artists. So I went United Artists, AT&T, TCI. And I really loved working there. I was having so much fun. And I started questioning myself, do I really want to be a teacher? And I was making just as much money. And I was like, why? Anyway, so I thought, well, I'll delay that for a little while. And here we are 25 years later. And, I can proof my kids' school papers, but that's about as far as I got there. So, I have found that when you just have fun with what you're doing and apply yourself, doors open. And so ended up in getting in human resources through being a corporate trainer. So that is really how I ended up just learning different of the HR functions until I was overseeing human resources. So, and again, I've done a lot of recruiting over the years, and now I am not solely TA focused. Bev, for you, that's TNA.
Oh, sorry. Wow.
I
thought it was muted.
I like where we're going. I already appreciate. Yep.
Somebody timestamp that.
So, but at any rate, I've done a lot of recruiting. But so today you're getting the perspective from more of a mid-size employer, and my experiences as such. So there you go. Started off. Yeah.
Define mid-size. Yeah, define mid-size just so folks understand kind of what you mean by mid-size.
Right. I mean, under 500 employees.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So where you're wearing a lot of hats, you're not just wearing the recruiting hat, you are wearing the employee development hat, you are working on culture development, you're working on leadership training, you're working on a little bit of everything. So you're keeping all those plates spinning.
My first question and this will be difficult. From sourcing out placement, what's your favorite part of HR and why?
Oh, good question. Recruiting is definitely one of them.
Okay.
Recruiting
Why?
is one of them because I really like finding people that help you execute your strategy. And I like working with fun people, and I really think, organizational development's probably what I love the most.
Oh, you can't go through the list. You can't get to succession.
really.
You can't do that bit.
Hey, but a part of that is
you
finding the right people for the team, right?
Right.
It is. It's finding the right people for the team. So so recruiting is definitely one of my loves. I mean, compensation analysis, probably not my favorite.
Stop it.
Legal cases, don't like it. But
Sexual harassment investigations.
Oh, come on.
High
Yeah,
on the list.
Exactly. Like, it's time for training. No one, that's not my favorite part, but finding cool people is really great.
Do you believe, and again, just a quick tag along, do you believe that if you get recruiting right, HR is easier, and the opposite, if you don't get it recruiting right, that HR is harder? Or is there any relationship
I think it's a starting, I feel like that is a starting point. I feel like then retaining those good people and developing them is equally important. Because if you can't keep people engaged and excited about what you're doing, you can hire great people, but then it's really hard to retain them. So I think those really go hand in hand.
Okay, listen, that's a great kind of introduction, and I think, as always, you're humble. I think it's part of your charm. I've had the pleasure of knowing you for a long time, not long enough, but you do what you just said. I mean, and I would say to you, I think what you really, based on my perspective, and you've worked at a lot of different companies, and not an insignificant period of time, but I've watched you. I always say people don't bring people like you in, LeeAnne, because it's going great. They bring you in to build something or grow something or put a fire out or light a fire, and you've done that. I didn't know that about Comcast. That explains, and I certainly didn't know you had a teaching credential. I'm an English major, and so I think that's fantastic. And I think what you enjoy, based on my experience, is helping people and helping people find meaning, because you've done that for me, and I've watched you do it for a lot of other people. And I mean that sincerely, audience. And LeeAnne's one of those people that everything she touches turns to gold, and I'm waiting for her to touch me. It's going to happen anytime now. Okay, so listen. So LeeAnne, let's I always say, and you just validated it, no one says, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be an HR leader, I'm going to be a TA leader. You kind of fall into it, which you just described. William just asked you what you like about your job. What don't you like about your job?
Specifically related to recruiting? Or
just in general? I mean, let me say it differently, because that was a trick question. What's the hardest part of because I think there's a perception that, oh gosh, if I only were in charge of HR, then I'll be in charge of everything. And my experiences, without spilling my candy in the lobby and answering my own question, is it's very difficult. It's not easy doing what you do, and it's not fun. And I always say, are you good at it? Do you enjoy it? Can you get paid? You're good at it, you enjoy it, and I think you're getting paid. But what are some of the challenges? If I'm an HR manager or a director or a sourcer or an HRBP, and I want to be a LeeAnne Giblin someday, what words of wisdom do you have for me?
I think it's important to care about the success of the company, sometimes more than you are caring about your own career. You don't want to sell yourself short. And I did have a boss tell me one time, I felt good about hiring you when I hired you, but after a year, I felt really good about hiring you.
Oh,
and I thought, that's good. You want to kind of under promise, over deliver. You don't want someone to, sell yourself so much. It's me, 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 me. I think you come in and you say, what can I do for this company? I'm a part of this team. And I'm serious. You're laughing at me, but I'm dead serious.
Well, no,
and so I
I'm
think
only
you come
laughing
in
when
and
I say Me. My mom said, "Oh, you should have been an opera singer, Andrew." Because me.
No, it's funny because actually, you know, when when I look at resumes, one of the things that I personally look for, and I'm sure that recruiters look at different trigger
Lean
words.
in, everybody.
It is.
Go ahead.
If your resume has so many eyes and not how you were a part of a team, it is just a pet peeve of mine personally, because I want to work with team players and I want to be a part of an organization where we together saying, what are we trying to accomplish here for the company and how can we pull together to do that? So that's something that I think has worked for me personally. Maybe that doesn't work for everybody, but for me personally, if I am just really focused on the mission of a company, what we're trying to accomplish, and how can we pull everybody together, I think doors open for you. You get, hey, can you work on, you get tapped to work on different projects. And then over time, you gain more responsibility. You know, I started off, I said, as a corporate trainer, which is within human resources. So then we had, my VP went out on maternity leave. And so I had to cover for her while she was gone. Then she decided not to come back. And the CEO said, "You've been doing this job. You can do it." So, you know, but he tapped me for crazy things like, Craig, if you're watching, things like, hey, we don't have a disaster recovery plan. You think you could help assemble a team? Like, what does that have to do with HR? Like, you know, I mean, I guess a little bit. But anyway, I was willing to help, whatever was helpful to the company. So
What's been to date, because you got a long way to go, but to date, what's been your Mount Everest of your career? What's been the hardest challenge that you've faced so far?
boy, that's a great question.
Yeah, lots to choose from.
Yeah, boy. I think that CEO transitions are challenging.
Great answer.
And I've been through that a couple of times. So it's actually like a fun challenge, but the organization, there's a lot of people worried about their keeping their job when you go through these kind of changes. And is the new person going to want to bring their posse? Am I out? And you know, you worry about that. And I mean, even that could potentially impact me too, right? So, but I just sit here and go, well, I'll get a package. That's okay, but don't worry, that didn't happen. But you know, that's hard because it really is very disruptive to any momentum that you've got in terms of projects. And then what if they decide to change strategic direction? Then you just unwind everything you've been working on. We're going to go from an efficiency model to a service model. And then you're re-looking at what kind of people you're trying to hire, what kind of training programs you have, and what the corporate message is. And staff love to say, but yeah, just 6 months ago, you were saying we should do it this way, and now it's all changing. So then you just got to manage change. So that's just a big, epic hill to climb, but it's fun.
Oh, like the day is long. Listen, I just want to make it a note to myself to go in and take all the eyes out of my LinkedIn profile. Hold on a second.
No, you want to blend. You want to blend. It doesn't. You don't want all. You don't want all we, but you don't want all I.
Audience, I just want to extrapolate some of the key things that LeeAnne just said that you didn't say, but that are, so I've said this to you before, LeeAnne, you're exactly the kind of person that should be the head of HR. Because number one, you don't go around like me telling everybody how smart you are and how cool you are. You let them figure it out. You're very humble. You do have that what can I do to help approach. So you're the first one to fall in a grenade. And I've watched you diffuse so many bombs over the years with whether it's CEO transitions or migrations or change management. And you know, it's so, you know, audience, or if you do want to be a head of HR, I would really encourage you to reach out to LeeAnne first and have an open and frank conversation, or any of the guests for that matter. But your job is like that, you know, when Batman in the movie where they shine the bat thing in the light and it goes off. I mean, you're always on the phone. It's always, you know, what I love about, I'm being sarcastic, is that your bosses are always there when they need you. And you're always there when they need you. And you're a mommy at work, you're a mommy at home, a mom, not mommy. I don't want to be patronizing. So anyways, your job is not easy. That was a good question, William. So LeeAnne, or actually let's pause for a minute, which is, as you know, as you all know, it's not easy for me to do. Let's see if producer Bev has anything to add.
No, usually not at this juncture, but I did like the way you keep your English teacher skills in your back pocket, like a secret skill, just to, you must be appalled at the emails you get, is all I can say.
Yeah. It took me a while to adjust to like my kids, the text messaging and like purposely misspelling words. Now I'm like, okay, I got this.
But I come from retail, and we barely even got computers by the time I left. And retail math is pretty sharp, but retail English is something else.
That's a good observation, Bab, and the degree in English. And I love how you kind of found, or your career found your curiosity and your willingness to take on more opens more doors, and you get more responsibility. And listen, I'm not proud of this. And I know we're only talking to like 12 million people right now, so I'm not too worried about this getting out on the wire. But I, full disclosure, was kind of chasing the dragon. It's a metaphorical dragon, audience, but chasing the dough, chasing the responsibility. Look how smart I am. Look how cool I am. And there's no, as you all know, my father passed away recently, and I say, anyone that'll listen, and even the people that won't listen, that like there was underneath his little hospice bed, there were no trophies, there were no diplomas, there were no stock options, no bags of money. He worked, the producer Bev, you'll like this, he gave his soul to Macy's, and for 45 years he worked at Macy's, and it took his soul, it took his hair. Okay, I'm kidding. Okay, but anyways, you do that, LeeAnne, and you show up and you've been amply rewarded, and you're one of these people that will have no trouble getting a job. I mean, audience, you should look LeeAnne up on LinkedIn if you haven't already done it, because you can see by her profile how she has gone like, and that's very powerful. Okay, well, so do we have collectively, William, do you have any more questions for LeeAnne?
I've got like 7. Yeah.
Okay.
So in your career to date, again, you're not done. You got a lot of things to do. I want to ask you about feedback. How do you like to receive feedback personally? And the flip side, how do you like to give feedback?
Great question.
That's a great question. I do like to receive feedback, and I will sometimes try to make it easy for people by just saying, hey, I want to do if I felt there was any tension in a meeting, I will go back to a coworker of mine and say, hey, I just want to check in with you. I felt we might have something to talk through based on how that meeting went. So I just find it's just, I don't know, I'm not uncomfortable with difficult conversations, but I also don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable if they are. So I just try to be, I never do anything, of course, forms of feedback through email unless it's positive, for sure. So I will ask for it. So I hope that answers that question. So how do I like to give feedback?
Yes.
I will say that sometimes I struggle with too much constructive criticism. I'll try to say 2 good things to maybe 1 constructive item. My mom always said that, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, listen more than you talk. So I kind of I don't know, that got ingrained in me to make sure that you're praising people more than you're giving hard feedback. I think they will take it more when you have a practice of giving good feedback and being specific about it. So then it makes it easier when you do have some constructive feedback. So I think feedback needs to be tempered with coaching.
Right. I love that. And again, on both sides, right? So even when they've done something really well, it's like, you did this really, really well. By the way, if you wanted to take that to the next level, you could do X, Y, and Z. Wow. I think one of the hacks that I found around feedback is asking people. Ironically, it's consent. You ask the person, how you like your feedback? And you'll be amazed when you ask somebody how they like their feedback and what their response is.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so anyhow, but I love your answer. So thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
let's talk a minute about feedback. I love positive feedback. Love it, love it, love it. It's like I like surprises, good surprises. I don't like, but I don't like, no, but we all just, I think it's an important, and maybe if editor Max, if you're listening or watching, this might be a good timestamp, because I think there's a reluctance, and this is kind of a broad stroke, so I'm making some assumptions here, but again, there's only 15 million people listening right now. So I think there's a propensity not to ask for feedback, William and LeeAnne and producer Bev, because I think we don't want to hear it, and particularly if it's negative. And you know, I don't know about you guys, I'm not much, but I'm all I think about, and I'm worried about what you're thinking. It's that old cliche about, I'm not who I think I am, I'm not who you think I am, I'm who I think you think I am, right? And so in that light, my point is, ask for feedback. Like, because it'll be, especially if you, as you both, William and LeeAnne, you said, it's like, if it's well intentioned and well guided and well placed, and I liked how you framed it, LeeAnne, like it's coming from a place of, hey, I just want you to be, because let's say I applied for that, and we're going to pivot here soon. But if I applied for the job and I just choked for whatever reason, and maybe it's because it was something that it was, I don't know, a culture thing, or I said the wrong word, and that happened and continues to happen to me. I know it's a complete shock. Everyone picked themselves up for, but you know, and then, so my point is that if you're looking for a job and you have an interaction with someone not on, like LeeAnne, and it doesn't end in the outcome that you wanted, or it didn't meet your expectations, it's good to ask for the feedback and to be open-minded about it and not be defensive. And it's hard. That's very hard for, I know, again, complete shock. That's very hard for me to do.
Andrew, I'll give you a great example, framework for that with peers, is to ask them periodically, especially away from work, potentially at a bar or diner, or a combo of those, is to ask them this. It's a tough question. But you ask your peers, like, what am I doing that irritates you? Whoa. So you just assume there's something I'm doing. There's something I'm doing that irritates you. I don't know what it is, because I don't know what I don't know. However, I know that there's something, and I'm literally asking you to tell me what that is. Every time I've asked that of someone, they've literally gone, I'm glad you've asked. Okay. It's like I had a business partner for 5 years where his name was Brian, and I would shorten his name and I call him Brian.
Oh dear.
I swear, this is a true story. And I did this bit. We were at a retreat. We were in Vegas, and I asked him this question. And literally, we were in a hotel room, and literally, I looked at him. I said, "Okay, I got to ask you this tough question." Blah blah blah. I went through the whole bit. He's like, "Yeah, there is this thing. I hate being called Bri."
Nice.
Why didn't you tell me? Like the first time it happened, or the 1,000th time that it happened? Why didn't you tell me? You know, it's a great way to kind of bring that stuff out and have tough or fierce conversations. But
what a great story, dude. And it's funny, Bev and I we have a morning call. It's usually it's kind of late in the morning, about 6:30. Right. And we always talk like that. I say, Bev, you know, and she does. I say, hey, can you tell me? And Bev, by the way, I think you should stop calling William Bill Tincup. I just don't think
it's Billy.
That was not worth unmuting.
No, it wasn't. It was silly Billy Tincup. No, it wasn't. It was. I'm kidding. You're so William Tincup, but it's funny you say that, William, because I'm a big. It's not. What do I say? Big man.
You're a nickname guy.
Yeah. Hey, big man. And I called my brother Big Man, and God, Wes, I hope you're not subscribed yet. I called him Big Man, And he texted me back and he said, listen, if I had $1 for every time I said big man, we wouldn't be on this podcast.
Oh, my middle brother called me chief in front of his. I'm not kidding. Again, a true story. Called me chief in front of his friends. So at one point, of course, off by ourselves, I'm like, you realize our ancestors went on the Trail of Tears, like, right? You get that part of us is actually Indian, and chief, probably not a good thing to throw out there. So if you could just stop calling me chief in front of your friends, that'd be cool. So yeah.
Okay. Well, no, but so my brother texted me back and he said, hey, my name is not Big Man. My name is Wesley. This is my brother, you guys.
Yep.
I didn't sleep for 3 days.
Yeah.
Ask producer Bev. It was like, dude, you know how long I've been. So then I went through a month, to your point, William, of trauma. Like, I'm calling, God, who else have I called Big Man? Well, that's a pretty long list. I better get on the horn and start applying. Anyways, so that's a great thing about feedback. I'm not going to be, LeeAnne, please tell me everything that I've said that's bummed you out. Okay, wait, that's another fun. That's a different podcast. Okay, so let's pivot. This is just, I'm sorry we're having so much fun.
Well, you know what, Andrew, before you pivot,
please.
You did say something about giving candidates feedback. And I think that can be tricky.
100%.
Because, it really can be tricky. There was one candidate I recall giving some feedback to. He was applying to be a call center manager, and I liked him. I really felt that he had the skill set and the drive, and he had the experience to do the job. However, he kept making a point during the interviews to emphasize talking about his college education, which really wasn't, he didn't need to have completed a degree, but I think he thought he did. Long and short of it is, you can see where this is going, right? We do the background checks, and he did not finish his college degree. Attended, right.
Yeah.
He was so close.
Yeah.
And you know what? Because I actually cared about this guy's future success, I just said, hey, I want to talk to you. Why you're not getting this job. Like, you had it, you had me at hello. You had us at hello. But there's an importance of honesty, and you made such a point to keep bringing up this degree through the interview process, like it was validating you, and you had the job. You didn't even need to have that. So sometimes, sometimes you can give, I do give candidates feedback, and then sometimes you have to be safe, because we've just gotten in this litigious world, unfortunately. You just have to be careful.
How did he react to that news?
Oh, you know what? He thanked me for the feedback, and I made sure that I ended it with, I just want you to know, like, I can't wait to hear the good things that you accomplish in your life, because you are, I really ended with affirming him. But I really, I guess I gave him the feedback because I did care about him and wanted to see him succeed in the future. But you have to be, it's hard giving feedback.
LeeAnne, you are such an angel. And I mean, audience, if you can't already tell that, see, you care. And I always say this, I can teach you how to type. I can teach you how to talk. I mean, hopefully, but I can't teach you how to care. And you care deeply, almost to a fault, dare I say, for you, not for me. A little note from producer Bev. We're 10 minutes in, so
geez,
it's 30 minutes. Obviously, I have a problem with time. Okay, so and you do care, LeeAnne, and that's a great story about the feedback. It reminded me of something else, Chuck, that I wanted to say about feedback, but I maybe we don't have time, so we'll pivot now and we'll go to the other part of the show, which is really the big draw. LeeAnne, I joke around with my co-hosts and the audience, hopefully they're joking about how, well, one of the big driving forces or purposes of the show, LeeAnne, is to show them that there's a LeeAnne on the other end of the phone or the internet or the email or the response that cares, that's very heartwarming and affirming to know that, you know what, like your story about the guy, that's perfect. That's beautiful. I mean, that's like, anyways, I could go on and on. It's not the Andrew Gardiner show. So LeeAnne, you're going to
Yeah.
forget more about hiring people and how companies engage with candidates in the next minute than the three of us times 10 will ever know. So what are some things, I mean, we'll get into the nitty gritty, but one of the core tenets of the show is to have an impact on giving people that are new to the job market or that are kind of stuck in a role and it's the devil that you know, and I don't know how to get a job, and you don't want to be in, like I always say, gosh, sorry audience, being good at getting a job isn't something you want to be good at. Like being good at dating,
True.
you just want a girlfriend or a wife. So to that end, what are some things that you've observed over the years as you've interviewed and hired all these people that the do's, don'ts, rights, wrongs, actionable, practical guidance above and beyond have a firm grip and look me in the eye kind of thing?
Right. I say that there's probably some tips to people who are applying for a job, and then there's tips to people who've actually landed an interview.
Good point.
So it's like there's two kind of different sets of advice.
Right.
I think that for people who are looking for a job and are applying, work your networks. And this is nothing new, right? I'm sure you hear this from everybody, but it's so true though. There's something to it. That's why you keep hearing it over and over again. But the average adult has to hear something 7 times before it registers. So for those of you out there, there you go. It's really important to work your network. So, you want to apply for a company, look on LinkedIn. Do you have any mutual contacts? If you're not in the circle you want to be in, maybe you join an association that will expose you to people. Take a night class. I work with a coworker here. He was telling me he's taking a class at the local community college on the history of Motown. I'm like, what? You didn't tell me. I want to sign up for that. That's how you meet people. So, but he's doing it just because he loves music. So, but that's how cool people meet cool people, right? So work on your network. I think that's really important. And also when you apply for a job, be willing to customize your resume to the job that you're applying for, because a lot of ATS systems pick up on keywords and then they do this match. And so look at the job description. Of course, make sure that your resume is true. Make sure it's true. Don't make stuff up. Now, I need to correct one thing I said before. I talked about the I and the we thing. If you're a salesperson, kind of a lot of the I's are actually kind of good for a salesperson. I will say that. So I'll make that one correction. So
would you include recruiters as I's?
Oh man.
Sorry.
That's a good question.
It's my personality. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be. Go, LeeAnne.
You're selling the company, right? You are selling the company. So, but I think if you're selling the company, you're not selling yourself. So I think you can have a combination.
Okay.
Is that acceptable?
That was safe. No, that was safe.
That
was safe.
LeeAnne, let me ask you a tough question, because I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So let's say I'm one of the 25 million subscribers and I hear you on the show and I call you or I email you and I say,
email.
Yeah, I saw you on the show. You were amazing. I need your help. Will you talk to me? Or can I talk to you for 10 minutes? It got really quiet. What would you say? What would you do? And by the way, there's not 25 million subscribers. There's
33.
I mean, you know what? If I am able to, I help. So, I mean, hey, I speak to the San Jose State, special shout out to San Jose State University. Their banking and investment club, we comes and we host a session for them. And I'm usually one of the speakers that talks about applying for a job, and I love their questions, and they do reach out to me on LinkedIn. So as much as I'm able to help, I do.
I think there's a context to that, Andrew. I think if the person contextualize the ask, like if it's just a general ask, like, can you make me better?
Right.
That's probably hard for, can borrow some money, panhandling via LinkedIn. I think that'd be tough, but I think if there's a context to why you're asking, like, I too was struggling with getting an education degree and going into primary education, etc. You seem to have travailed that, like maybe, but even I'm answering that question myself. That like, if it's a rando, yeah, probably not. But if there's some context to it,
right.
yeah.
I mean, my first obligation's to my employer here,
That's right.
To your family.
And my family, of course, my family.
Yes, there's a hierarchy of things. All right, so I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to hand you a magic wand because I've done that too many times.
No.
However, I do want your take. If you could fix job descriptions, what would you get rid of and how would you do it? How would you fix job descriptions?
I really, you know what? There's some things like, no, but this like lifting, standing, come on, that part, I really don't like that part. Those little disclaimers, that's probably not what you were expecting, huh?
Right.
I feel like, I don't know why, that's just the first thing that came to my mind.
I like where you're going with this already.
I do too. We're going long, people.
Feel like,
pay that extra Zoom bill.
I feel like job descriptions remind me of employee manuals, like where all you just 100%. Want to say is just do the right thing, just do the right thing, just be cool, do the right thing, be honest, show up,
care.
But now because care, but because of the state of California too, you've got all these legal.
Oh yeah. The employee handbook's like 1,200 pages.
Yeah, I mean, a job description I feel like is something that you write for the sake of recruiting, and then it's never looked at again.
Right.
It's just kind of so then you kind of get into talking to people about what it is you want them to do, and it doesn't always match the job description. So that's
is it a marketing instrument? Or should it be?
Yeah, I think it should be. I do think it should be.
I think it is.
So yeah.
It's interesting because when this current state of job descriptions is our attention span is about 12 seconds, and they predict in the next 2 or 3 years that it's going to be 8 seconds. And if you go on Indeed,
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Yeah, exactly. Squirrel. I think if you go on Indeed or you go in ZipRecruiter and you go and copy a bunch of them and do word counts, the average word count's about 1,800 words. So how do you reconcile the two, your attention span or the attention span of candidates and the attention span of the document you want them to consume, which is too long?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think you need to have enough of a job, like give someone an idea of what you're going to be doing day to day, but then just throw in the other duties as assigned, right? Because like that
right,
covers a lot of ground.
And then, oh, by the way, there'll be other stuff. There you go.
Right.
Done.
LeeAnne, so a couple of key takeaways. I know I'm about to get a note from producer Bev saying and I love it when we go long. And this is I told you this would be a great episode, LeeAnne. Some of the things that you've said that really the key takeaways, and I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but I do kind of want to summarize some of the things that you said to give, because part of my charge is to give hope. Like if hope burns eternal, right? And Jim Carrey says, hope's a beggar. Well, you know what? Hope burns eternal in my mind. And I would say that listening to you and hearing you gives me hope. And what gives me hope is the things that I've heard you say is, hey, show up, tell the truth, own your story. And listen, if you show up, nothing may happen, but I promise you, if you don't show up, nothing will happen. So there's that.
I like that. You have these phrases, Andrew.
Yeah, but that's hard. Like we're all like, oh gosh, I'm going to send my resume. Like to William's point, there's a job description. It's not a perfect fit. It's never a perfect fit. But if I care and I show up, and as to William's point, if I contextualize my thing, and I didn't mean to paint you into a corner. Part of your charm is you've helped me so many times, personally, professionally, as as all of you know. The great thing about me is I'm always there when I need you, and apparently a lot of times when I don't need you.
At one time when you were arrested, it was 3 a.m, and
right.
we don't have to go too far into it.
you have given, if nothing else, listeners or audience or viewers, you see that LeeAnne's not an anomaly now, and she's also not a robot. LeeAnne's a person. So there is a person on the other end of the equation that cares, that's forgiving, that is humble, that just wants you to be successful, that had the guy that, listen, shame on me, I'm that guy. Like, let me tell you how smart I am, and how just give me a desk and a chair and a phone and keep your hands 7 feet away from my mouth. I'm like, and then meanwhile, you're like, dude, I just need you to answer the phone and, smile and nod your head a lot. And I overdo it. So that gives me hope. And I think that's really important. Okay, so we're running long. William may have a few more questions. Producer Bev, have you cobbled a question together yet?
So are you? Go ahead.
Oh,
No, I was just going to say to your thing about hope, it was the last thing in Pandora's box. So that's hope floats the world. That's all.
Nobody likes to show off. Come on.
I like that, Bev. I like that, Bev. Now, I think that when it comes to like just a couple of encouraging comments to candidates that maybe have made it, they've gotten and they've gotten an interview or they haven't gotten a call back, just a few items. A hiring manager has to think about the team that they're putting this individual in. So, for example, we recently were hiring in one department where we had a lot of really experienced individuals. So we had the opportunity where we could hire somebody a little more green from a different industry. There's a learning curve, right? And that's something that we have to talk about. Oh boy, but you want that diversity, you want that difference of opinion, you want new ideas, you want that innovation. So you want to hire someone sometimes that's not 100% qualified. So, or maybe didn't have everything, you're again, switching industries is probably one of the biggest items. Because we're heavy in compliance. And so, it's when we got to train someone, we're like, okay, are we ready? But we need it. We need that diversity. So don't be discouraged. There's times where if you feel like you're applying for a job that maybe you're 90% qualified for, and you just feel like that's the avenue you keep hitting. You never know. Like if we have a lot of green people in a department or people that we've just promoted, we can't afford to hire somebody green. We really need somebody experienced. So there's a lot of pieces that you're putting, it's a puzzle piece that you're putting together when you're making a hiring decision. And so, don't get discouraged. But the other piece is too, if you really do want a job that you're interviewing for, don't be afraid to show your excitement. Of course, don't be a stalker crazy, but be excited. Like there's times where we're like, oh man, we've got 3 awesome candidates, don't know which one to hire. Well, one is kind of like casually getting back to you, and the other is like right there, and you feel like, man, this is my first choice. This job is my first choice. And you want to hire that person. You want to hire the person who, like, you want to be each other's first choice, right? So, so I think that's something. Don't feel like, well, okay, well, what's the pay, and can I work from home 100%, and that kind of thing. So, like
what's your drug test?
How much? How often do I get paid? What's your drug test?
What's your drug test?
Oh man,
I actually had an employee ask me this question. Literally came up to my desk one day, and it was just me and him. And he goes, "Hey, Will, what's our drug testing, philosophy or policy?" I'm like, and I was much younger, so I could do this. I'm like, dude, I don't care if you smoke crack at your desk. Just get the job done.
Exactly.
Like I don't care. I'm the wrong person to be asking this question. Hey, let me ask you an interview question. So it's twofold. First is the toughest interview question that you've ever been asked. And the opposite of that is, what's your favorite interview bit? What do you like to put candidates through? That's just kind of something that's unique to you.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Yeah.
Right.
Where manhole covers round. Yeah. What's your favorite bit? But really, I want to know on the front end. I want to know, at one point someone's tried to stump you, or they've asked you some type of question, or taking you through some type of bit where you're like, what is that?
Okay. Well, truthfully, the truth is, my past 4 jobs we're all word of mouth. We're all people I know. So I don't feel like they kind of threw me a hard question, to be really honest. So that's just
Right.
really.
Duly
So,
noted.
but you know what question though, like, I mean, I think my current boss asked me this, like, what books are you reading? And you see that as a common question. I'm like, okay, so
Yeah. What do they want to know?
like, you're right.
What do they
Like
want to know?
the business book I read,
It is.
like hop on
You're,
pop.
Sun also rises.
you're
Where the
trying to.
bread fern grows.
Yeah. You're trying to figure out what they want to hear.
The
Like, is it
Odyssey. No, the Iliad.
the new Tom Peters book?
No.
Right. So,
Raving Fans by Ken Blanchard? No.
Love's Labor's Lost by Bill Shakespeare.
right.
That is a tough question. Not because, and
That's
it's worse.
a trick question, and that makes me nervous. When people say that, I'm like, God, I gotta start reading more books. And
No,
then
there's books on your bookshelf. It is partially empty.
this is
I
my
have to.
dad's office.
All
And
right,
it's like,
all right. It is what
well,
it
they're
is.
all self-help books.
Is that a dictionary?
How
Yeah,
to
doesn't matter.
reprogram your subconscious mind.
I feel like that's a trick
By William
question,
Tincup.
like that's a trick question. Like, does everyone really answer that? Like, honestly, because I
here's-
go back and forth between a heavy read and then I'm like, I want a brainless read for a little while.
So when I was coming out of,
Amen.
I was interviewing out of business school, and I was interviewing with Proctor Gamble. The HR person asked me that question. Kid you not? And I was down in Cincinnati, and I was newly, freshly minted, and all that other stuff. And they asked me that question. I looked at them. I said, I gotta be honest. And they're like, okay, well, yeah, we would hope you would be. I read the thesauruses. That's what I read. And they didn't know what no, hell no, I don't read but
You just said I gotta be honest. I mean,
well,
Jesus, dude.
yeah, that's a pause. That's
Good thing we only got 15 billion subscribers.
that's a trick. That's a trick. But yeah, but the bit was there's no comeback from that. So I stumped them.
Okay.
Right? That was the bit. It's like I saw them coming when they asked the question. I'm like, okay, you want to know, you wanted this, that. I worked in 2 different libraries. Like, okay, no. I care about death and morbidity. And so I read a lot of books about that. No, I'm not going to answer that. So I really threw them an answer that said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with this answer? And they froze.
I love how you asked LeeAnne the question and then you give like a
it's because it remembers it totally unlocks memories for me. But so that's the question. But what's your favorite bit? So the second part of that, you have a favorite bit. What's your favorite bit?
I wish I had something really earth shaking and fantastic in this one, but I don't. So, I mean, I really love asking, and I can't wait to get to the question of what questions do you have for me?
Nice.
And
Curiosity.
just because I want to see how prepared they were,
right.
If they're just showing up, if they're really interested in the role. Did they look at any Yelp reviews? Did they look at Glassdoor? Sometimes don't do that.
Yeah.
Did they look at your website? Did they make any recommendations? Have you guys thought about X, Y, or Z? So I really like that part of the interview. I have asked the what do you read question before, and I just stopped asking that one. I'm like, but I like to get to know people. So I usually start off really honestly by saying, we're really happy that you're here. You're obviously here because you're qualified for the role and we're interested in you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. That's literally how I start off the interviews. And then I'll end it with, what questions do you have for me?
That's beautiful.
But I like to hear what they like to do in their spare time. And, yeah.
Okay, so listen, we're way past, and this is great. I mean, I love it when this happens, and that's why I knew you'd be such a great guest, LeeAnne. And audience, if you can't already tell, she's a beautiful person inside and out. So LeeAnne, we're at the end of the show where we ask the really, it's kind of a bit, as William likes to say, which I like, is the awkward, weird HR story. But before I do that, let me tell you about the time. Hey, an audience, if nothing else, know that you have a weird thing. Like if someone have the title of like 12 books that no one's read or that everyone should have read, and that will people love different. I mean, imagine. So here's my feedback for the audience and the viewers is that the takeaway for you should be LeeAnne has interviewed thousands of people and asked thousands of questions, and ergo, as producer Bev likes to say, ipso facto, that's Latin, by the way, she's likely heard thousands of answers. So if you want to kind of engage her or anyone that's interviewing, have a clever, not irreverent, although that's kind of my part of my deal, is have something that maybe LeeAnne hasn't heard where she'll go, okay, wow, I haven't read that book or whatever. I mean, that's kind of fun. So have that in your back pocket. But LeeAnne, so you made a really good distinction earlier on about, hey, there's two kinds, like getting the interview. It's one, I love how people say, okay, the biggest part is getting the interview. Let's be honest. I mean, I forget who it was. I think it was Mike Watson. If I come in through the front door through the ATS, I'm 1 in 200. But if I come in, I'm referred in. Network, get referred in.
Totally.
1 in 10. Yeah, exactly. So, but that being said, what advice do you have? What's the one thing that you could say that would help someone get an interview?
Well, I would just repeat what I said earlier about making sure that you've customized your resume to the job description. And I also think that you should be applying for a position that you can support the mission of the organization passionately. So I guess that's something that I would add, but I really think that you need to work your networks and customize your resume. I think that those few things will help, in addition to just really applying for jobs that you're really genuinely interested in. And once you get the interview, just be careful with how you sequence the questions that you ask. Like to William's example about the drug question, because we in the finance industry, you run credit reports.
I'm like, glad that's you just.
I mean, that. What's worse, a credit report or a drug test?
I'll never. You guys, you'll love this, Max, Samantha. Don't kill me. But when my kids graduated from college and they started interviewing for jobs, I was like, so listen, I remember Samantha made an executive decision to, how long does pot stay in your system? Yeah. And Google, what should we do? Okay, yeah. Williams. Okay. We're getting that. Bev's giving me that, and it was just so funny. And then my son's like, I'm gonna cut back on smoking pot. And I go, wow, that's a great idea. He goes, well, just like Tuesdays and Thursdays. Let's not rush into it. Let's just slow down. Okay, so listen, LeeAnne, we're at the end of the show. You got to tell us some sort of awkward, weird story that sticks in your head. It can be an interview thing.
Oh man, so many awkward employee stories, but it's kind of like, are we talking in the recruiting side or are we talking
anything?
Wherever you're.
The sexier and the more inappropriate, the better. It's clickbait. Or not sexy,
like
and anonymized.
Like the termination stories or
anything.
Like well, I do remember getting this one heartfelt application for a teller position, and this person on their resume had been a cat sitter, a babysitter, and their cover letter stated, look, the truth is I've been in jail and I'm not going to get a job if somebody's just not going to give me a chance. So I didn't give him a chance.
God.
No, because hey, you know what? Hey. We're handling people's money. This is let's not risk this. So, but that one stood out to me. I kind of wondered, is this true? Am I being punked?
Where are the cameras?
I know, right? So.
Okay, well that's good.
So we'll have to, we'll have to go out to drinks and talk about all the other stories. Yeah, another time.
I have a feeling we're going to see you again.
We have to. We got to do entire termination stories.
Man, no, you have.
Okay, so listen,
what not to do once you land the job, right? How to stay employed.
First 90 days of what not to do. Yeah. That'd be a
Right.
good one.
LeeAnne, I love your thing, William. And that's true. Audience, hey, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're working from the bathroom, as long as you're doing what you said you would do.
Yeah.
And better.
Just don't turn your
Amen.
camera on if you're doing
Yeah,
that.
seriously.
Jeffrey
Okay,
Tubin.
so listen, you guys, audience. So LeeAnne, again, really, I can't take myself seriously.
You've
How
already
do- I
used the
was gonna
number.
say we've
You've
got
doubled it
25.
every time.
11 that Keanu Reeves Saturday Night Live, 11 billion. LeeAnne, how do people who want to get in touch with you? How can we reach you? How can we find you?
Oh boy. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can call Andrew or Bev. And,
There you go. There you go. I like what you did there.
Or silly
That's
boy.
nice. I like what you did there.
Okay, so
You just-
LinkedIn and
You just
and
made them
LeeAnne.
executive assistants.
Okay.
That was nice. Well done.
Andrew is happy to help.
So
Okay.
listen, audience,
No.
like and subscribe. And just a special plug. Listen, if there's any questions you guys have for people like LeeAnne, we see we get a little off topic here, but that's part. What's that say? Andrew Gardiner is the best. What's that say? I can
It
barely-
says ask Tincup and Gardiner at gmail.com.
Nice.
Oh, you're backwards.
Oh, well,
No, you did it. Well
somebody's
done.
been busy. We
My
like
goodness.
that.
Well,
Okay,
I
when did you
figured
put that up
I-
again? It was kind of.
I don't get a chance to talk, so I thought I'd make a sign.
Well
That's
done.
so cool, Bev, and kind of
and
a
it,
little bit of a
and
butt
it's
dart,
and
but
it's
we'll
and
take
it's in calligraphy. That's fantastic.
That's-
Wow.
it. Producer
It's
Bev,
actually
thank you
etched.
so much. I can't believe that URL was available.
No.
Okay, you guys, this has been lovely, LeeAnne. Whatever they're paying you, triple it. I've never
Okay.
said that in my life.
Such a
And I
pleasure.
mean it,
Such a
LeeAnne,
pleasure.
thank you so much, all of you. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Audience, like and subscribe. More good content coming your way. Ask questions, send it to producer Bev at Ask
Right.
Tincup and Gardiner. How come his name was first, Bev? Gosh, we'll talk about it later.
Thanks for watching this episode of Career Keynotes. For more killer content, please like and subscribe to our channel. We welcome all comments and questions and are grateful for any input regarding future content, topics, and guests. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.